They've been watching, not from the shadows of envy or judgment, but from the corridors of purpose, from the places you didn't even know had their eyes on you, while you were healing in silence, speaking truth to the void and showing up every day despite the weight. You were being observed, not by crowds, not by critics, but by those who recognize spiritual authority, top-level agents, not just of institutions, but of light, of order, of divine alignment. They didn't interrupt you because they needed to be sure, and now they're ready to step forward, not to challenge you, but to thank you in person. If this message found you, it wasn't random. This video carries a frequency only the chosen recognize. So stay with me until the very end, because the moment you're stepping into is unlike anything you've experienced before. It's your signal, your confirmation, your spiritual alignment. If something in you resonates deeply as you listen, take a moment to anchor your energy. Type your most heartfelt wish in the comments below, followed by 777, and release it into the current that is now flowing around you. Subscribe to this channel to stay connected to a collective that sees you, hears you, and believes in your rise. This isn't a show, it's a transmission. You didn't ask to be seen. You weren't seeking attention. But truth has a way of echoing far beyond your expectations. And that's exactly what's been happening. While you were building in silence, transforming in pain, and rising in private, you were sending out a signal, one that only those operating at the highest frequency could detect. These agents aren't bound by status or visibility. They operate in spirit, in alignment, in protection, and they saw you. They recognize what you carry, not just in your words, but in your energy, in your restraint, in your resilience, in your obedience to something higher. They watched how you handled betrayal without revenge, how you kept showing up when doors stayed shut, how you chose growth over gossip, how you listened to the inner knowing that most ignore. And they noted it not in surveillance, but in reverence. Because people like you, you're rare. You don't just move with purpose. You become the purpose. You are the proof that one person fully aligned can shift the course of those around them. And now that your alignment is complete, the top-level agents have taken notice. What does that mean? It means the roles are reversing. You've been walking alone, unacknowledged, unseen in plain sight. But that's about to change. Because those who were sent to protect, support, and amplify are preparing to reveal themselves, not to elevate you, but to walk with you. Because elevation, when real, is not a solo climb. It's a coordinated release. The kind that happens when those who've been spiritually stationed come together at the right time. And that time is now. You're about to receive messages, encounters, confirmations that will feel surreal, but they won't be coincidences. They'll be orchestrated, deliberate, tailored to your unique frequency. Because the work you've done in private is too powerful to go unsupported in public. The truth you've carried, the prayers you've whispered, the protection you've activated, it has moved things, not just in your life, but in the realms most people can't see. And now, the ones who saw it are ready to step forward. They're not here to test you. They're here to thank you. They've been watching how you carry yourself, how you don't retaliate when provoked, how you don't chase what isn't aligned, how you maintain peace when chaos begs for reaction. That's what qualifies you. Not your following, not your platform, not your visibility, but your consistency and character when no one was clapping. That's why the ones in positions of influence, spiritual, energetic, and practical, are moving in your direction, because you didn't bend when it would have been easier. You didn't sell out. You didn't lower your frequency to match the noise. You stood still, and standing still in truth, that's louder than anything else. So now it begins. The part of your journey where everything starts to come together. Not because you forced it, but because it's finally time. They've watched long enough. They've waited until the moment was right. And the moment is here. Prepare for the unexpected. Chosen one, not the chaotic kind, but the divine, the kind that reaffirms everything you've ever known in your spirit, the kind that brings the hidden out of hiding, the kind that turns whispers into invitations, the kind that takes everything you built quietly and amplifies it globally, not for ego, but for mission. You were never invisible. It only felt that way because the ones watching were moving in silence. Just like you, not all observation comes with applause. Some of it comes with reverence, respect, strategy. You were being observed by individuals who know how sacred energy works. They weren't watching for flaws. They were watching for alignment, for confirmation, for integrity under pressure. Because anyone can shine when things are easy, but only the truly chosen radiate in darkness. Only the real ones continue their mission when no one is watching, when no one believes, when no one claps. And you did exactly that. You moved when your spirit said move. You stopped when it said wait. You spoke truth even when your voice shook. You maintained inner order when outer chaos tried to distract you. You refined your discernment not from books, but from experience, real pain, real silence, real surrender. And that's what they saw. That's what the agents tuned into. Not just what you say, but what you hold, what you carry. The weight of someone who doesn't just talk about light, but has become it. Some of these watchers weren't ordinary people. They're individuals you may never recognize at first glance. Some are in positions of influence. Others operate completely behind the veil. They carry keys, permissions, access points that unlock entire new realms. Not because you beg, but because you're prepared. They've seen the consistency in your spirit, and they know this one is not like the others. This one doesn't fold. This one doesn't fake. This one doesn't fall for distraction. And because of that, you're being handed something rare. Access. Access to rooms you didn't even know existed. Conversations you didn't know were happening. Support that was being prepared long before you ever prayed for it. Why? Because the way you've moved through this journey has sent out a signal. Not a loud one, but a clean one. And in a world full of noise, that clean frequency became magnetic. It cut through everything. It rose above the distortion. It landed in the hearts of those meant to meet you, help you, protect you, walk with you. Not because you're helpless, but because your mission is too important to carry alone now. You become a living map for others. The way you've navigated betrayal, confusion, inner warfare, and spiritual awakening has become a guidebook. The agents watching you aren't just here to support. You've already inspired them. You've reminded them why they do what they do. You've reignited something even in those who once felt numb from their own roles. That's the kind of presence you hold now. One that awakens, stirs, activates. Not with force, but with truth. And soon, if it hasn't already begun, you'll start to notice strange alignment. People showing up at just the right time. Offers that make no logical sense, but feel like destiny. Doors that seem too big to open, but swing wide effortlessly. You'll question it. You'll wonder if it's real. But your soul will know. You'll feel the confirmation, not in excitement, but in deep peace. That's how you'll know it's them. The ones who've been watching. The ones who now want to thank you. Not with words alone, but with movement. These are not surface-level connections. These are deep assignments. The kind of support that goes beyond money, status, or recognition. These are soul-level allies, strategic anchors, appointed amplifiers. And they're not here to make you famous. They're here to protect the frequency you've guarded so well. The frequency of the awakened, the refined, the chosen. What comes next isn't just expansion, it's exposure. Of truth, of impact, of divine compensation. You didn't ask for it. You didn't chase it. You became it. And now, the world has no choice but to notice what heaven already approved. So keep walking, chosen one. The eyes on you now don't want to break you. They want to build with you. The agents moving toward you aren't just messengers. They're multipliers. They see what's coming, and they know your rise is not a threat. It's a signal, a green light, a go. And they are ready now to say thank you in person. They didn't just watch you to be impressed. They watched to understand what moved you, what kept you going, what you were anchored to. Because anyone can perform when conditions are perfect, but you thrived in storms. You remained calm in chaos. You didn't collapse when you had every reason to. You became more focused, more clear, more intentional. And that's what caught their attention. Not the size of your platform, not the number of your followers, but the weight of your vibration. Because at a certain level of influence, true influence, discernment becomes everything. And you, chosen one, have walked with such discernment that it became a signature. It marked your energy. It left a pattern that couldn't be faked. Your silence wasn't empty. It was structured. Your pauses weren't confusion. They were wisdom. You didn't rush to speak, to prove, to perform. You listened. You aligned. And that kind of energy, pure, grounded, unshakable, signals something rare in this world: trustworthiness. That's why doors are about to open that your name has never touched. Rooms where your character has already entered before your body does. There are people preparing to support you who don't need your resume. They've seen your energy. They've seen how you've carried pain without bitterness, how you've served without recognition, how you've trusted without answers. And now, those who've been watching are finally ready to meet you face to face, because the time for hiding is over. You're no longer someone building in the background. You become the blueprint, the living evidence of what it means to move with divine timing, not ego. And the top-level agents who are coming toward you, they're not coming to control. They're coming to confirm that everything you felt in your solitude wasn't delusion. It was design. That every moment you thought was wasted was actually recorded. That your intuition was accurate. That your battles were not unnoticed. That your loyalty to truth has moved things behind the scenes. And now, those scenes are shifting. The ones who once operated in silence are preparing to reveal themselves, not because you need saving, but because they've seen what you've built and want to build with you. This is divine partnership, not opportunistic, not transactional, but sacred, balanced, aligned, because your next chapter can't be walked alone. Not because you're weak, but because what you carry is too strong to remain isolated. You've already passed the tests. That's why these allies are emerging now. You chose integrity when shortcuts were offered. You chose healing when numbness was easier. You chose solitude when the crowd could have given you comfort. But you knew. Something inside you always knew. There was more to this than survival. There was purpose. There was a mission. And now, the mission is entering a new dimension. The people coming? They've been strategically placed. Some have been in your orbit for months, even years, waiting for the signal. Others you've never met, but they've felt your ripple. They've read your energy long before they ever saw your face. Because energy travels faster than language, and yours has been speaking louder than any words could. It's been saying, this one is ready. This one can be trusted. And now, trust is being rewarded, not with attention, but with access. Not with applause, but with alignment. What's coming is not a test. It's a thank you, a long overdue recognition from those who never needed to be loud to be real. The watchers are stepping forward, and what they bring with them: strategy, opportunity, protection, not just to elevate you, but to expand the mission you've been quietly preparing for all along. You don't have to chase it. You never did. You are the signal. You've always been the signal. And now, the ones who recognize it are coming home. You were never moving alone. You just couldn't see who was moving with you. In the natural, it felt like isolation, like no one understood, like no one was paying attention to your efforts, your sacrifices, your prayers. But behind the veil, there were watchers, agents of purpose, carriers of alignment, guardians of destiny. And their job was simple: observe the ones who don't waver. Watch the ones who keep showing up with integrity, even when no one is clapping. Protect the ones who are being forged for something bigger than themselves. And that was you. You were chosen for something different. Not just to rise, but to withstand. Not just to influence, but to carry frequency. And that frequency, unpolluted by ego or external pressure, is what made you visible to the watchers. Even when you felt hidden, you weren't invisible. Even when you felt forgotten, you weren't unacknowledged. They saw it all, not with human eyes, but with a higher vision. They saw how you held your ground when everything around you crumbled. They watched how you prayed when it made more sense to panic. How you stayed soft when the world tried to harden you. And it moved them, because at the highest levels of purpose, raw power is not what earns respect. Purity does. Peace under pressure. humility in the face of temptation, quiet endurance when chaos begs you to react. And you displayed all of it, not for a show, not to prove a point, but because your spirit was aligned long before the platform came. And that's why the agents watching you now are preparing to reveal themselves, not to reward you, but to walk with you, because what you carry can no longer be protected in the dark. It must be activated in the open. This next chapter will feel strange at first. You'll be invited into spaces that don't make logical sense. You'll be asked to speak when you thought your voice was too quiet. You'll feel doors opening, not because you pushed, but because you waited. You look around and realize you didn't miss your moment. You became it. And now, top-level players are moving toward you with respect, not out of charity, but out of recognition. They've studied your path. They've seen the pattern. They know what you carry is sacred. And here's the twist they've known for a while. They just needed to make sure you knew it too. Because access without self-awareness becomes sabotage. They were waiting for your inner agreement before making their external approach. Waiting for your confidence to settle in your bones. Waiting for your spirit to say, I'm ready. And now that it has, so have they. Some of them will come gently, subtly, without fanfare. Others may come boldly, directly, bringing ideas, connections, strategy. But all of them will share one thing in common. They will speak the language of your mission. They won't be confused by your calling. They won't be intimidated by your clarity. They'll feel at home in your presence. Not because you're like them, but because they've been waiting for someone exactly like you. You don't need to convince them. Your spirit already did. And yes, it will feel surreal. The shift from being overlooked to being sought out, from moving alone to moving with spiritual support. But don't let it scare you. You've already been prepared. Every rejection trained you. Every delay sharpened you. Every detour aligned you. And now the alignment is complete. That's why the agents are stepping in now. Because your field is finally ready to receive what you were once praying for. What they bring isn't just support, it's security, structure, insight. They've been stationed in places you never had access to, but now they're ready to share it. You don't need to change who you are. You don't need to elevate your tone. Just walk in, sit at the table, speak from the soul. Your presence is the introduction. Your energy is the signature. You are the proof that purity still holds power, and they're here to help you protect that at all costs. This is not a dream. This is not hype. This is the moment when what you've known in your soul becomes undeniable in your reality. The watchers are real, and now they're stepping forward. They don't just want to thank you. They want to work with you. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because it's not just about being seen anymore. It's about being supported, backed, reinforced by people who don't need an explanation for your depth, your intuition, or your mission. They've already decoded it. They've already felt it. What they needed was a sign that you were ready to walk in full authority. And now that you're there, the infrastructure of your next season is being built around you. You'll start to notice the frequency of your life change. Old conversations won't resonate. Shallow relationships will fade. Low vibration invitations will disintegrate without needing rejection. Why? Because your field is being cleaned, cleared, protected, not by force, but by energetic truth. And those who are assigned to your next level are stepping in like puzzle pieces, fitting where they belong without you having to force anything. That's how top-level agents move. Quietly, seamlessly, with purpose. Some of them are watchers who've studied your moves longer than you know. Others are strangers who are magnetically drawn to your presence. But all of them carry something that complements your assignment. Insight, access, protection, resources. And the beautiful part is, they won't compete with you. They're not intimidated by your light. They've been waiting for your emergence. Not because they want to control it, but because they knew it was essential to something bigger. These aren't connections formed out of desperation. These are divine collaborations, birthed out of spiritual precision. You didn't have to hustle into the right room. The room was being prepared for you the moment you said yes to becoming who you truly are. Your obedience unlocked an entire web of movements in the unseen. And now, those movements are manifesting in the physical. You'll know it's real not because it's loud, but because it's aligned. You'll feel it in your nervous system. Not anxiety, but clarity. Not urgency, but flow. You're about to become a bridge, a translator between realms. A living example of what happens when someone refuses to quit. Even when quitting felt easier, the agents aren't just coming to support you. They're coming to protect what you're about to birth. A movement, a message, a model. Your story is becoming a structure, and your structure is becoming a safe space for others to rise. But you must remain sharp. The level you're entering isn't free from distraction. In fact, you'll notice new temptations, better disguised, more subtle, but still designed to divert you. This is why your discernment is still your greatest weapon. The agents you're meant to work with won't ask you to shrink. They won't require you to compromise. They won't drain your energy. They'll add to it. They'll move with you, not above you. That's how you'll know the difference. You'll also feel your voice shift. Not louder, but clearer. You won't just be speaking truth. You'll embody it. You won't need to justify your direction. It will be obvious to those tuned in. Your actions will align so effortlessly with your purpose that even your silence will say more than most people's speeches. That's the power of living in your field. That's a level you've earned, not by force, but by frequency. There may be moments ahead where you'll feel overwhelmed, not because you're unqualified, but because the size of what's coming will stretch your vision. That's okay. You were never meant to do this alone. That's why the agents are here. To multiply your focus, to lighten the weight, to affirm what your spirit already knows. You're not just ready, you're necessary. Let this sink in. You become someone who isn't just fulfilling a calling, but igniting others through your example. The agents aren't coming to save you. They're coming to serve alongside you, to build beside you, because they recognize something rare. You didn't rise through noise. You rose through truth. And truth is the only thing that can hold when the world begins to shake. So breathe, receive, and prepare yourself. The infrastructure is forming. The connections are anchoring. And soon, everything you saw in dreams will feel completely normal. Not because it's small, but because you've expanded enough to hold it. You were always meant to be part of something greater. Now, the greater is arriving to meet you. You've moved from being observed to being followed, not in the social sense, but in the energetic one. Your movements, your decisions, your silence, your pivots, they're no longer just personal. They are signals, templates, evidence that alignment is not only possible, but powerful. You become the one others align themselves with, not out of flattery, but out of calibration. You become magnetic, unshakable, the blueprint. And now the agents who watch you rise in silence are taking action, not to lead you, but to build around you. They're creating structure, strategy, channels, opportunities, pathways, systems, because what you carry is too big to flow chaotically. It needs direction, flow, containment, not restriction, but protection. The infrastructure that's forming around you is not to trap your light, but to sustain it. And those being sent to you now know this. They don't come with ego. They come with tools. They come to amplify, not absorb, to support, not steal. You'll begin to notice that your life feels more organized, but not in a forced way. It's as a divine intelligence is reordering everything. Suddenly, people appear with exactly what you lacked. Timelines move quicker, but with more ease. Ideas begin to take shape faster than you can explain them. And the top-level agents orchestrating this, they move with quiet mastery. They've already read your mission like code. They know what's at stake. They see where you're going, and they're here to help it scale. Your dreams are no longer just your own. They become assignments, echoing in the hearts of others who were sent to bring them to life. That's how important your frequency has become. Your voice is no longer just expression. It's activation. When you speak, others remember who they are. When you move, others awaken to what's possible. And those who have the resources to build around that energy, they're drawing near not with conditions, but with alignment. These are high-frequency operators. People who don't speak just to be heard. They speak when it's time to move. Their actions are intentional. Their timing is divine. And the reason they're drawn to you now is because they recognize one truth. You carry weight, not emotional burden, but spiritual authority. You walked through storms that would have silenced most. And now your silence has become sacred. It speaks of discernment, of maturity, of trustworthiness. That's what top-level agents look for, not charisma, not flash, but weight. And when they find it, they invest, not just financially, but energetically, strategically, prayerfully. They guard what's sacred. They don't waste time. And right now, all their focus is on what you've been building in the dark. This is why you've been feeling the shift, why you've been waking up with more clarity, why old relationships are fading without explanation, why certain things no longer excite you. You're not being emptied, you're being prepared for visibility without vulnerability, for elevation without compromise, for expansion without burnout. And the ones sent to walk with you through it, they don't come with questions. They come with answers, because they've been watching, preparing, listening to your spirit before your platform even reached them. Your legacy is forming, quietly, powerfully. What you're building now is not just content, it's context, it's culture, it's code. It's something others will one day point to and say, that's where everything changed. You are becoming a reference point, and references require record keepers, strategists, guardians, builders. That's who's arriving now. You may not recognize all of them at first. Some will come dressed in simplicity, others in titles. But don't judge by appearance, judge by frequency. Listen to how they speak, not just their words, but their intent, how they respect your silence, how they speak your language without rehearsing it. That's how you'll know they're not tourists, they're teammates, they're not observers. They're architects. And you're not just rising anymore. You're being established. The whispers are over. The silence is broken. What was once sense and spirit is now materializing in form. You're not just being approached. You're being acknowledged, not as a trending name, but as a foundational force, a pillar, a frequency holder, a walking shift. And the ones who've been watching all along, they're finally stepping out of the shadows to say it plainly. You were right. You were ahead. You were chosen. You were never building a brand. You were anchoring a movement. And movements don't begin with noise. They begin with obedience, with trust, with one quiet yes after another. That's what you gave. And every yes you whisper when no one was watching has now echoed into spaces you've never stepped foot in. Your name is being mentioned in rooms you haven't entered yet, but the vibration of who you are has already arrived. That's how top-level agents move. They don't always knock. Sometimes they study. Sometimes they wait, because access to your world is a responsibility. They had to be sure. Sure that you wouldn't fold when power came. Sure that you wouldn't change your voice when offered influence. Sure that your purpose was purer than your performance. And now that you passed every unseen test, the access is here. You're not entering rooms to introduce yourself anymore. The rooms are adjusting to accommodate your presence. The conversations are shifting because your essence redefines what matters. People who once dismissed you are now quoting you. Individuals who once ignored your ideas are now offering to fund them. And those who once questioned your silence are now studying your stillness. This is your reward, not in gold, but in glory, not in fame, but in fullness, not in control, but in confirmation. You have become undeniable. Your energy speaks with such clarity now that even those who don't understand your language still feel your truth. And truth is the most powerful currency in a collapsing world. You hold it with reverence. You guard it with humility. And that's why you are the one they now want to thank, not from a distance, but face to face. You become what systems cannot replicate. Your walk cannot be imitated. Your path cannot be reversed. You've crossed a threshold few will ever see, the place where destiny starts answering your prayers in the form of people, real people, connected people, quiet giants who've been carrying influence for decades, now finding their way to your table not to be served, but to serve. They've seen what you carry, and they know it's not ordinary. That's why they come with reverence, not ego, They won't try to fix what's not broken. They won't suggest you become more palatable, more brandable, more normal. No, they're coming because you aren't. Because you refuse to dilute your fire for comfort. Because you chose truth over trend. Because you became the one who makes the entire frequency of a room recalibrate just by entering it. And you feel it now, don't you? The weight of this moment. The gravity of being seen, truly seen. Not the kind of visibility that feeds ego, but the kind that says, we've been waiting for someone like you. You no longer need to push doors open. You are the door. And everything that's coming through you will carry your code. Clean, powerful, undeniable. So walk through it, chosen one. Walk like the agents are no longer watching, but walking with you, like the infrastructure is already in place, like the answers are already written. Because they are. The moment has arrived. The mission is expanding, and the world is finally ready for the frequency you've always carried. Let them come. Let them speak. Let them thank you in person. Because what you planted in silence is now blooming in full public view. And still, you haven't even shown them everything yet.